Hello. This is a video over the making predictions assignment. If you're doing this before you're doing your test, it's going to be a great study tool for you. If you're doing it after your test, I hope you get this assignment handed in before Monday morning, 9 a.m. At December 21st. That is when I have to have grades in, and if you do not have yours handed in by December 21st, I can't get it in your report card. You have to take a 0 on the assignment. But if you're doing it for the test, it's a good study tool. Otherwise, I'm just doing this so you can be caught up. Now, this is over the making predictions lesson. I am doing a video like this, so I don't have like the actual assignment presented here. But if you pay attention, you should be able to follow along. Now, a prediction. Let's talk about what a prediction is. A prediction is something you expect to happen in the future. Something you reasonably expect to happen in the future. So a prediction is something, big sneeze. Here's what's in the blank. You reasonably expect to happen in the future. That would be way out in the future. It could be just in a few seconds. It's a prediction. There's things we can expect to happen that aren't reasonable, like getting an A when you don't study. But then there's things, that's not a prediction, that's just a hope. But if you study, then you reasonably expect that you may get a better grade in the future. It's happened for a lot of other people, and it's likely to also work for you. That's what a prediction is. Scientists study data to make predictions. Now, data all data is just recorded information. In any experiment, you are going to write down what you observe. Maybe you're seeing how quickly your crops grow. Maybe you're seeing what the weather is from day to day. In any event, any good experiment is built on well-recorded data. You may hear the word data and think of a data plan on a phone. Well, anything you see on your phone is really just recorded information. You don't think of a TikTok as being information, but it is. And you can analyze it just the way you would any data. A lot of people do that, especially if you work in marketing. So data is just any recorded information that you use to make predictions. Now, how do we really make predictions? What is a way that we can use math to make precise predictions? Because you can say, I think it's going to be cold tomorrow. And it's December, so you're probably right. Had a bit of a cold front, so it probably will be cold. But will it be like 65 degrees cold, or will it be 30 degrees cold? And that's a more useful prediction. And that's something that, the weatherman does, or any of the meteorologists. That's anyone who studies weather. So how do we make predictions? Well, there are two methods to making predictions. One way, method number one, is to use you've seen this a few times before, a proportion. Some of you may still struggle with proportions. I want to fix that. If you can do anything at the end of this year, I want it to be working a proportion. And a proportion is not a complicated idea. It might be spooky because it's fractions, but once you do it enough times, you'll really start to warm up to it. It's not that complex. Number 2, you can also use a percent equation. Right? Or use a percent equation. I can guarantee you will like this one better. I know most of you prefer decimals to fractions, and percent equations work with decimals a lot more. Proportions are more with fractions, so sometimes you will have to use a proportion. You'll want to use a percent equation because it's so much simpler, but proportions are something you have to get used to. Just get used to it. Now, let's look at this question here we see about the vet's office. A vet's office records data and concludes that 12% of pet owners purchase their food in the front office. Next month, 230 pet owners have appointments with the vet. What prediction can be made of how many will purchase food next month? So if we use a proportion, all a proportion is, if you haven't caught on by now, anytime you see the word proportion, you're going to start with 4 little lines. There are 2 fractions that we have to fill out and set equal to each other. One of them will be a complete fraction and one will be an incomplete fraction. So when we see a percentage written out, that will be our complete fraction. Converting a percentage to a fraction is actually very simple. You just take the number that's a percentage and put it over 100. Because that's really all the word percent means. If you think of 100 cents in a dollar, that's the word cent means 100. So that means 12 per 100, or 12 parts out of 100 parts. Here we see 12 customers out of every 100 customers, which is the same idea as 12%. Next month, we see that we're going to get 230 pet owners with appointments, and some of them are going to buy the pet food. So your bigger group that contains your smaller group will go on the bottom. We put our X up top to say we don't know what goes here, but we intend to find out. Now, calculating a value in a proportion, you really just do cross multiplication. So you're going to cross multiply 12 times 230 is 2,760. So you cross multiply 12 times 230, then you cross multiply 100 times x, or 100x. You set them equal. 100x equals 2,760. Divide by 100 to get x alone. And that, if you punch in your calculator, you'll get 27.6. Okay? And that's it. Sorry about the glare. Right. Hold on one second, y'all. Let's fix the lighting situation here. Hopefully this works. A good way to get good lighting without the glare. Oh, that is so much better. Okay. It's a little bit less visible. Part here. So I just have to be more vigilant about this. So all we do is we set up a fraction, cross multiply, and solve the equation. It's 3 steps. Set up the fraction, cross multiply, and solve. 3 steps. Now our other one, the percent equation, is 2 steps, and there's certainly more direct 2 steps than this. I know build a pair of fractions from a word problem is one that some of you may struggle with. This one, I will say that if I saw this one, I would mentally do the vet situation, like the percent equation. I do the percent equation myself. I'd choose this one because it starts with a percent, and we can more naturally jump into that. So let's do method 2. The percent equation. So in our percent equation, all we do, break it down for you. Percent to decimal, and then multiply my total by the decimal. Okay? So we get 12%. I'm not actually writing it up here. We get 12%. Becomes 0.12. We just move the decimal over 2 spots. And then we multiply my total, which is the 230, times 0.12. Earlier, when I did times 12 and divided by 100 in my proportion, that's the same thing as multiplying by 0.12. It's in one simple step. If you punch this equation into your calculator, you'll get 27.6 for your answer, which is the same answer we got last time. So we know it's a good method. Okay, looking at these questions. Number 1. Marshall found that the experimental probability of him hitting a home run is 1 out of 10 or 10%. Out of 65 pitches thrown at batting practice, about how many home runs could he predict he would make? When I see this, I see the 10%, and my mind immediately thinks to do the percent equation. So 10% becomes a decimal, 0.10. You can write 0.1 if you want. There's really no difference. And you multiply 65 times that 0.1. Now I'll get to 6.5. You'll want to round up to 7. That's going to be your first instinct. But 7's not an answer, so you got to pick 6. Think of it this way. You can't hit half a home run. So yeah. Number 2. The experimental probability that Salt Lake City, Utah will receive precipitation in any given day is 25% out of 365 days. How many days can residents predict precipitation? So that 25% from 0.25, 365, 0.25, and you end with 91.25. The closest answer among our choices is A, 91, which is our answer. Easy as that. Convert to decimal, multiply. Predictions are really the easiest part of all of this, especially when they give you a percentage. Houston Elementary School has an enrollment of 874 students. On any given day, 7% of the student enrollment is absent from school. About how many students are absent each day? So I take my 7%, convert it to a decimal, which is not 0.7. Remove our decimal over 2 spots. See that empty spot? Fill it with a 0. Got 0.07. So we take that 874, multiply times 0.07, and we end up getting 61.18. We round down, you get 61, which is answer choice D. And that's that. Now, making predictions with theoretical probability. To make predictions with probability, write a proportion with the known data. So in this case, we got to do proportions. We did a lot of percent work because we wanted to see how it was done. At this point, we've got to get used to proportions. Proportions just really, that word trips me up. It's hard to say. Jenny works at a bakery and rotates working in 4 different stations, all an equally likely amount of times. The 4 stations are baking, cleanup, cash register, and restocking. So 4 stations. If Jenny works 32 days, how many times should she expect to work the cash register? We're assuming that she works 1 station each day. I would have phrased this one a little bit differently, but it is what it is. So we want to know what the cash register, 1 station, out of her 4 stations. We set it equal to my fraction, which is going to be over 32. I'm going to put that total down there. Okay? Now, this is going to ask you what 4 times what equals 32. In this case, it's 8. 1 times 8 equals 8, which will be the correct answer. It's 8. But here's the thing. This method requires you to be familiar enough with your times tables. You do 4 times 8 equals 32. If that's you, you're great. Just find the number you multiply to get from here to there and do the same thing on top. Easy peasy. That's why it's important you know your times tables. Otherwise, if you don't know, you can do cross multiplying. Let's say we put an x here because we don't know what goes here. We do 1 times 32 is 32. We get 4 times x, which is 4x. Set it equal. 4x equals 32. Divide by 4. And so 32 divided by 4 is 8, which is your answer. You have to do 32 divided by 4 eventually. Right. Okay. So number 1, John rolls 1 die 120 times. Predict how many times John will roll a 2 or a 5. So if we want a 2 or a 5, we know that my options are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 2 ways here out of 6 total ways of rolling. Do right, 2 out of 6. So the 2 out of 6 chance of rolling a 2 or a 5, because there's 2 numbers here and 6 numbers there. It's 2 out of 6. Now we set it equal to our fraction. It's going to be over 120. And it's some missing number here. Now you can, if you know your multiplication well enough, ask yourself 6 times what is 120, and then multiply 2 by that number. But if you don't, then you can simply cross multiply. 2 times 120 is 240. 6 times x is 6x. 6x equals 240. Divide by 6, divide by 6. Do 240 divided by 6, and you'll get 40 for your answer. That is a 40, by the way. I have to say this all out loud because I understand this isn't all super easy to see. It's like I can have a glare or I can have it be sort of sort of dull and hard to see. Anyway, that's that. So our answer there for this question is 40. Okay. Number 2, Elijah works at a local grocery store. He works in either the produce department or the bakery or in the front at a cash register. So there's 3 locations, 3 stations to work at. In 30 days, predict how many times Elijah will be assigned to work in the produce department. So out of the 3 stations, we're being asked about one of them. And how many days will Elijah work? How many times will Elijah work in the produce department out of the 30 days? Now, you should be able to know that 3 times 10 is 30, and times 10 gives you 10 here. Or you can just do 30 divided by 3, which you're going to end up doing anyway. So yeah, it's 10. Set up your proportion. You can either identify a number you multiply to get to 30. 3 times what is 30? Times 10. Multiply on the top, get to 10. I really recommend y'all get used to your multiplication tables. Okay. A bag of marbles contains 6 orange marbles, 6 orange marbles. I got an orange marker. 9 green marbles, and 5 purple. I know it's blue, but I don't have a purple marker nearby. If Jaden draws a marble at random 100 times, what is the probability? It's always 2 equal fractions. What is it? Predict how many times he will draw out a purple marble. Not funny purple. Predict how many times he will draw out a purple marble. So you see there's 6 plus 9 is 15, plus 5 is 20. So out of our 20 marbles, you draw 5. 5 out of 20. 20 times 5 is 100. 5 times 5 is 25. If you cross multiply, you'd find 25 as well. Again, just another proportion. Get used to setting these things up. So our answer there is 25 marbles. Well, that's the end of this assignment. I hope it was helpful. Helped you understand how to perform these kinds of problems on your own. Thank you for watching, and you have a great day.